What's up, WWE Champions Universe? This is Lee from Champions Chat, and it's time to get back to basics. And I mean way back to the basics. We were talking with Gerson, and he made a comment to Rusty that none of us, CC-wise, have ever done a video just like how the basic different types of gems work. And so since there's so many new players coming into the game, and even on those who have played the game for 3, 4, 5 years, there's confusion on certain gem types. Like there are certain gems I thought worked differently than they actually did 3, 4 plus years into the game. So this is going to be a little basic, but also some pro tips on all of the different types of gems. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is when you go into certain characters on your moves, you will see that they create certain types of gems. So for example, the Godfather here is my good example for loot gems. You probably understand loot gems, right? But let me kind of explain the basics, and also with each of these gem types where they fall in like a power ranking sort of sense. Like we do power ratings for characters, but like what is the order of power and magnitude? Are they good, strong, low, high, etc.? So loot gems are on the board all the time. So we're not talking about the different colors like blue, green, red, yeah, etc. What we're talking about is special gem types. Loot gems are both a special gem type and they're just on the board with all the other colors. Because this is how, when you get 3 loot gems, you get that first little loot box each match, and then 6, and then 13. And so your loot gems give you rewards. Godfather is currently still the best for loot gem spamming. He has a move set right here, the hoe train and the pimp drop being the main thing. If you can just double up, triple up on your yellow MP trainers, just get that 7x7 random area, which is the entire board by the way, into loot gems, then you use him to spam your loot events. There's certain events where if you get that third chest, you get special things. Most relevantly, this is for every month's kickoff. Every month's kickoff, they have, at least so far for the last several years, they have where you get the keys and you want to spam them to help your faction. Well, Godfather is kind of your go-to for that. So Loot Gem doesn't do damage much on its own. Although, like, for example, Hornswoggle, if you happen to have him, can make it to where your loot gems do 100,000 per loot gem. So you can do damage with them, but these are not typically thought of as a damage dealing setup, right? So Godfather is your go-to, and in terms of power of gems, these are absolutely the lowest. They are the most basic. They're not really designed in most cases for damage. They're designed for what they get you out of those 3 chests at the end of the match. And I'm going to show you, because certain ones of these I'm going to go in and actually show in matches. Others I'm just going to kind of explain because they're fairly basic. This one I'll show you kind of as we go into there. But Godfather is the king of the loot gems. And if you didn't know, pro tip, now you know. Every month, whenever there's the ability to spam the kickoff tour with a male, spam it with Godfather. Just get to where you have, the ability to get all of your loot gems set up. Like you can do the Sidewalk Slam to get that loaded. Personally, if you've got Braun and Kofi, put both of them in Santa Hogan on and just hit the pimp drop over and over and over again. Set it on auto, forget it, and keep going. So that's loot gems. That's your lowest power overall type of gem. The next one we want to look at that's also a pretty low power gem, but very misunderstood in the community, are heal gems. Heal gems haven't really had a focus or a renaissance as certain other types of gems have. So, for example, Mask of Mystery, Rey Mysterio, Showboat Solo Sikoa, and a very small select group of others, including like King Woods, and again, very small subset of people have these heal gems. So heal gems look like this. They have the little heart icon on them. And when you place them on the board and then break them, they heal you for a set amount. The problem with heal gems is they've never scaled in the meta. They don't do damage to the opponent, so damage-wise, they're 0, but they do heal you, and so you can use them defensively, tactically, to try to get some additional health. There are a couple plates, like for example the Mask of Mystery plate, Mysterio's mask, that work with him. But for example, right now I have this Rey Mysterio Mask of Mystery. This is my account, by the way. I'm showing you on mine and not on the candy stores. He's 6-star bronze. Even at 6-star bronze, 6 gems healing you for 27,000. So that's functionally about 100,000 health that you're not hitting them for, you are healing for, but the damage pools, health pools right now are 60 to 90 million on average. So as you can see, you know, even if this one were maxed out, it'd be 30,000 right now. If it were 30, you know, if like 3 million, it might maybe possibly be relevant. But even then, not so much. So heal gems don't do damage to your opponent. They just strictly heal you. So you place them. When you break them, you heal yourself. Understand? I mean, it's kind of straightforward on those ones. They're just very, very limited. So next to loot gems, I would rank these as the absolute lowest power there are in there. And then similar to heal gems, we have Leech gems. Leech gems are, let me get Sammy pulled up here. Right there. Leech gems are functionally what heal gems kind of should be in some ways. In the sense that heal gems straight up heal you, but don't do anything to your opponent. Leech gems steal, they leech, just like it sounds, damage from your opponent and give it back to you as health. And so why have just heal gems, right, basically, when leech gems do even better? I don't know, right? So you have someone here like Sami Zayn Conspiracy Theory, where you can choose 3 columns to make into leech gems. But again, look at the damage ratings on here, 67,000. So even though it's 3 columns, so that's going to be 7, 7, and 7, 21 gems. 21 gems doing about 70,000 each. Still not super strong. One of the best, I guess we want to say, superstars for this would be, let's see here, be Tiffy time. So if you go in and look at hers, she actually has, and we're going to talk about Snowfall gems in a moment. That's why I started by showing Sammy, so you could see the gem type itself. But she has a Snowfall gem, again, we'll talk about it in a moment, that then makes everything below that into Leech gems. Leech gems of 138,000, which even maxed out at 6-star gold, go to about 150k. So overall, that's not terrible, but you see, you have to do basically the entire board for all of those to hit strong, and then she turns all of them blue. So the very most basic setup on the Leech gems is that they steal health from your opponent and give it to you. That's it, right? So if you're playing Leech gem builds, which there are fairly rare right now still, then you want to just set it up where you have as strong of a Leech gem as possible and kind of go from there. Another thing about Leech gems, one of the reasons why I've got them on the lower powered side of things here, is because they're hard to buff, right? So I need you to picture, let me see if I can grab a couple things and kind of stack them. Yeah, this is a weird light thing my wife's playing with here. So I need you to picture this light. This light is the gem And then you have this little 3M strip is the leech that sits on top of it, right? So when you turn, so if that were a yellow gem, you see the standing dropkick logo. If that were a yellow gem and it had a leech gem on top of it, you would do damage for the yellow gem in breaking it, plus the leech itself would activate and trigger. So functionally, you have your yellow gems, which if you don't know how to do this, another quick pro tip is just to go into your level up screen and you'll see that at 6-star bronze, Sammy's yellow gems do 12,394 damage. So when I put this on yellow gems or turn them yellow, then you're going to do your 13,000 or so damage, plus you're going to hit the leech gem on top of that. When you talk about trainers, it'll have, and again, they're very few and far between. I don't even use leech trainers on him at all. When you do your leech trainers, it only modifies the leeching power itself usually, not the gem. Most others modify the gem itself. Leech modifies the strength of the leech, which is why it doesn't scale typically as well as other gem types, because you're not going to be able to use a lot of trainers to buff the power. So like, let's say you have that yellow gem right there with the leech icon on there that you see on the standing dropkick, and you go, oh, I'm going to buff yellow gems, and then they're also leech, so that's going to make the leech stronger. It's not the way it works. The leech is a separate effect from the gem itself, and so you have to buff the leech power, so to speak. So if you're using someone that has a trainer ability, and they're very few and far between, that buffs the leech, then you're not affecting the gem. So see what I'm saying? It's kind of two separate things in the mix. So leech gems, better than heal gems, but still there's very, very few superstars that really, really use them. Like I say, Tiffy Time, but I would even argue that Tiffy Time's main focus isn't the leech gems, aside from the fact that she throws out so many of them. She's got other, things going because she's buffing blue gem damage, etc., etc. So, so that is leech gems. Very, very low on the overall, totem pole of damage, how we do things, etc., etc. But still better than heal gems. All right, so then we're going to move into silence and botch gems. Silence and botch gems are, let's see here. Oh, actually, I can do it with Jimmy Uso. I was going to show you old man Becky Lynch, but oh, there he is. Okay. So silence and botch gems are kind of a special gem type in and of themselves. So you can see down here on the one-handed uppercut, that's the logo for silence gems. What silence gems focus on doing is making it to where when you, and more importantly your opponent, I should say, when your opponent breaks one of your silence gems, it does not charge their moves. So normally when playing this game, if this is Jimmy Uso Bloodline, you're trying to get green gems because green gems are going to charge your green moves. But if you break your opponent's silence gems, your moves will not charge. That's really it. I mean, that's their primary function and focus of how they work. It's just simply to go in and make it to where your moves or your opponents, defensively, offensively, do not charge. That's really it. There are some uses for them otherwise. Like, for example, in this setup here with Bloodline Jimmy Uso, you turn your silence gems into X-Break gems, which we're going to talk about later on, and then that does certain things. And there are certain plates, for example, the Uso cap. I actually thought I had one on him as an example. I apparently do not. The Uso's cap, which is in here somewhere in my mess of plates, does bonus damage. Here it is. Okay, so whenever you make 8 or more silence gems, increase your green gem damage by 150% for 3 turns. So when you buff gems like almost all the rest of them we're going to talk about that aren't the Leech gem. When you buff a Silence gem, for example, you are actually buffing the gem that the Silence gem sits on. So the focus would be like, for example, green is his primary color. So you're increasing your green gem damage by 150%. That makes sense. Your green gems go up. If it said increase your Silence gem damage, which certain trainers will do, then what it does is it buffs the gem that Silence sits upon. So if it's a green gem, you could buff your primary color by 100%, let's just say, by buffing the Silence gem damage. And that's kind of how most of these are going to work. Silence gems also on the very low end of the power scales. There's not really a lot of superstars that use Silence gems as like a main damage dealing sort of setup. But certainly as you go in and buff your damages, if you have somebody that throws out a lot of Silence gems, you do have, like for example right here, Zombie Cody, purple gems do 30% more damage, Silence gems do 60%, or Zombie Hogan, Silence gems do 50%. So whatever gem that Silence gem is sitting on top of, it kind of buffs that. So unlike the Leech, where it only buffs the Leech power, Silence gem buffs whatever gem the Silence gem is, the Silence icon is sitting on top of. So since Jimmy Uso's primary color, his main damage comes from green, if they're on green gems and you get 60% more Silence gem damage, functionally you're buffing his green gems by 60%, and so on and so forth. So Silence gems, pretty straightforward in how they work. Like I say, I'll run a few different types of gems so you can see them. These ones are all very similar, so I'll just kind of show them as we go here. I think I can find him this way. No, I can't. No, I can't. All right, so there's too many rocks in here. Final boss. All right, so after Silence gems, we have botch gems. Botch gems are very, very similar to Silence gems in what they do. It's just the opposite effect, right? So, oh look, Leech gems. Hey, actually, except for, so this is the Leech icon, but it's not actually Leech gems. It's just straight up steal health. So that's tricky. That's tricky. Okay, so this doesn't have the icon on it. I'll try and find one in just a second here. But Juggernaut gems, another type we're going to explain later, much more on the powerful side of things. So botch gems. So Final Boss Rock, most people have him. He's was a grindable free character, so to speak. You have the ability to turn 49 gems into botch gems with this, and then turn them all into purple. So botch gem is like the Silence gem in that it negates something, but instead of negating their MP, like their charging of their moves, it negates damage. So if you have botch gems on the board, then whenever your opponent breaks them, it takes away whatever damage they would have done to you. And most importantly, like when it comes to kicking out, if you have botch gems on the board and like it's just covered with botch, they can't kick out because they're continually just hitting a wall of botch gems. Where somebody that would really use that well, that again was very free to play recently, would be Hall of Fame Molly Holly. I might run her here in a second for you. Let me just check what I got. So on the moves, she also uses a different gem type, which is countdown gems, that will then make gems into botch gems. So I'll show you what the botch gems look like. We'll talk about countdown gems in a minute anyway. But something like this, where it makes the entire board into botch gems, and then when the opponent goes to try to break them, they can't kick out as easily because they're not doing damage. So let me show you what that looks like against Jade. Again, this is my Molly. This is my account. I'm not using one of the CC accounts right now because I figured I know where my stuff is. All right, so for her, I am going to throw down some countdown gems first, which they're pretty easy to explain, but I'll get to them in just a moment. So in order to make the countdown gems turn into botch gems, what I need to do is kind of a 5 match, and make a turn reset here. So on the wildcard gems, just so you know, whichever gem you grab, like if I grab that purple gem, that's where your wildcard gem is going to end up. If I grab the green gem, that's where your wildcard gem is going to end up. I'm going to grab the green gem because I know what sits next to it, which is a red and a loot box, which I told you I'd explain here when we got in here. And so that way I know I'm not as likely to cascade. So see, I did anyway. You know, it happens. But that's okay. Jade's just going to punch me, and then I'll show you what I mean here. All right, so my countdown gems go off because they were set on a certain time. So these are your botch gems right here. You can see when I click on them, it says you have created a botch gem. When Jade Cargill breaks the gem, it won't contribute any damage to her attack. So that's all it does. It just negates the damage. The nice thing with them is when I do a pin, you can see how many botch gems are on the board. I want you to watch her trying to break my gems, or to break the gems to kick out, and every time she swipes a botch gem, it's just going to equal 0. But first, let me just give you the loot gems. So your loot gem damage is 1. If you break 3 of them, you get your first little prize reward from each match. 6 of them gives you the second box. 13 of them gives you the third box, which is why Godfather is your one to go to for those gems, because it literally just goes whoop, 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 and they are all done. All right, so botch gems, here we go. Watch Jade try to kick out, and every time she swipes a gem that has a botch, you see zeros, right? 0, 0, 0. There you go. So she got a couple gems that weren't, and she did do some kick out damage, but overall she couldn't kick out because the botch gems stole all of that thunder. So that's botch gems. Woo, man, we're 20 minutes in, and we've got a lot more to go here. So let's talk now about Immobile gems. Werewolf Ozzy right here. So Immobile gems are the ones that have the handcuffed icon on them. Whenever you make an Immobile gem, it basically does what it sounds like. It handcuffs that gem in spot, so the opponent cannot move them. You can, the opponent cannot. So when we go in, let me show you with Werewolf Ozzy here real quick. Darn, I don't have a loadout set for him. I also was doing it this way because all of my loadouts are pretty much set, so I know I'm not going to have issues as much trying to get people set up, whereas on the candy store accounts it takes forever to do these. So we're going to go up against Zombie Sammy. We're using Werewolf Ozzy here. Whoop, there we go. All right, so I'm going to throw down these Immobile gems. It's going to be 30 random ones. I'm not going to do the multiplies. That's something we'll talk about later here. And then I'm going to let him have a turn. So you'll see I can swipe this Immobile gem, but our opponent will not be able to. So if you look at the board here, I can match this red that's bouncing on the top right here. I can match those gems. But if I turn it over to Sammy, he cannot. He can't move these black gems down here. He can't move this green one. He can't move these purples, so on and so forth. So what it functionally does is it forces your opponent to where they may not be able to charge what colors they want to charge. So watch when he does it here and see, like he did actually end up getting a black one. So how nice for him. Yeah, but it is what it is. So I am going to just whoop him really quickly here. Multi-gems are something we're going to talk about later on. But Ozzy, 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 oi, 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 boom, right there. I know that's wrong use of Ozzy, but it is still Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy. Fun times. All right, so we've wiped him out. So that is Immobile gems. Immobile gems just simply handcuff, just like the icon shows. They handcuff the gem exactly where they are. Now, where that comes into play, most particularly on some premium characters right now, unfortunately, but also with some guys like Finish the Story Cody Rhodes, Karrion Kross, etc., is if you have somebody that does Immobile gems and you have a nearing end plate, whenever you make 6 or more Immobile gems, you increase all your gem damage by 350%. That starts to get spicy on a few people. It's not as good as you would hope on certain, like Captain Lou Albano, for example, who does a lot of Immobile gems, but it is pretty darn good overall. So, Immobile gems, not super high in themselves on damage, but definitely good for certain bonus types there. Alright, now we're going to look at Reinforce gems. I'm going to set Seth freaking Rollins up here, and you can see buffing out Reinforce gems. Take him off Werewolf Ozzy because I just used him. Alright, so Reinforce gems look like this. It's like a chain link kind of effect. And what they basically do is picture again the gem and then the reinforced gem that sits on top of it. When you do a reinforce, it functionally makes it to where it takes 2 different times to break that gem. So for someone like Seth freaking Rollins right here, where he makes the reinforced gems, basically you're breaking your gem twice. So what he does is, well, first we're going to increase our red gem damage by 150%, so that's nice. Plus we have the Bulldog plate on him right here, which whenever you generate 10 or more reinforced gems, you increase your red gem damage by 75%. So we've just buffed up our... Oh, by the way, if you click on their picture in the corner, if you didn't know that, that shows you your bonuses. So now we've not only buffed it by 150%, by another 75 as well. So we're going to throw down a 6x6 random area to reinforce gems. And so now you'll see any of those ones that have the chain link fence on them like that. When I turn them red, they're going to break, which will take away the chain. And then they're going to break again if they are matched. Watch and you'll see. Pretty straightforward. So it's kind of like getting a ×2 multiply on them. Each gem will hit twice, basically. And they do a pretty good job. Once we get into multiply gems, you'll see why, obviously, multi-gems are way more powerful than that. But that's your basic setup with reinforced gems. All right, trying to go through these quicker because we are at 26 minutes and we are still halfway through the number of gem types that there actually are to go through in this game. It's actually insane how many different gem types there are. All right, so let's talk about row break and column break here. Let's see. Now let's do, for row break, let's do the rabbit. No, Pig Boy. Let's do Pig Boy. All right, so this was a free character everybody got. And these are pretty straightforward and easy to explain. So look at these right here. It's the ones that are going horizontal. Your row break gems, whenever you break that gem, it's going to break the entire row across it. So just how in the game, if you match 4 gems together, how it breaks an entire row or column, that's exactly what the row break gem does. It's very, very straightforward. So if you have somebody like Pig Boy here who lays down a bunch of rows and then does a 2x7 column area, then you can break a good portion of the board. On your entourage, you do have people who buff row break gems specifically. Although, yeah, my focus on him has been multi-gems, hasn't it? Yeah, we'll talk about multi-gems in a minute, but you get the idea. So row break gems, they break left to right or horizontal, and column break gems, which is almost exactly the same thing, just columnar instead of... Sorry, I normally have... I'm typing column. That's not what I wanted. That's hilarious. Like, column. Let's talk about that. All right. So then you have your column break gems, which is the exact same thing except for it's up and down. Column break gems, guys like Jey Uso. Well, in fact, everybody who came out the month that Jey Uso did, plus a couple guys surrounding that. So your Jey Uso, your Nia Jax, Queen of the Ring, your Lyra Valkyria, your R-Truth free character, JD McDonough, all of those guys use column break gems. And most specifically, where column break gems have really gotten a resurgence is with the Yeet plate. Whenever you make 6 or more column break gems, increase all of your gem damage by 500%. So really, column break gems, row break gems on their own aren't super powerful. It's when you start talking about plates like that that really get into the, ooh, those are good side of things. All right, so that pretty well covers them. I don't think you have to see them to understand them. They're pretty darn straightforward. So then we go from column, so we're going this way or this way, to cross break and X break gems. Cross break gems are guys like Brawny Stroface here. Oh, why is it not gonna? Where is Braun? Why would it take me? I think it took me to the new face of fear, and I did not want him. Yeah, Monster Bomb. That's why. Okay. Whew. All right. New face of destruction. So Monster Bomb Brawn would be a good example. So see the BL here. Whenever you make that move go off, you choose 6 gems to make into crossbreak gems. Think of a crossbreak gem as a row break and a column break all at once. Whenever you break that, it's going to break everything that's along that axis. This game gets blamed as accused of being like Candy Crush for wrestling. There's your Candy Crush move. Like that's one you see on the commercials for that game all the time, where it breaks your up down and your left right at the same time. So something like this, where Braun has the ability to make multiple of these with trainers, he can actually make more of them, right? So crossbreak gems do more damage, and then we add on John Cena, Zombie. Now he makes 9 gems into crossbreak gems. So basically that will blow up the entire board because it'll hit all 7 either up or down, no matter how you do that. But yeah, that's basically it. It's up, down, and left, right, all the way across on both. So again, those ones pretty straightforward. Don't need to see them. CM Punk, any CM Punk right now, it seems like, of the newer ones, are doing your X-Break gems. X-Break gems, same basic thing, except for instead of going left to right along the row, it's going this way and this way. So these ones are less predictable. Cross break, you know you're going to break this way, so you're going to get the whole thing. X break, depending on where they hit, it misses certain gems. Like if you have it in that bottom corner, it'll go this way, but it can't go this way. Or if you have it, lower on the grid, it'll hit a couple gems and then one line this way. Just depends on how many of them, obviously, you are making. Cross break, X break, all of those seem pretty straightforward, I would guess. I hope, right? If you need to see them, let me know. I can show you any of our videos we've done. All right, another one that just recently, I'm going to start typing that in there again, aren't I? Oh my goodness, there we go. It's color turn gems. If you couldn't tell what I was about to type. Color turn gems. So Devon is a great example here. Trick Liv. These two that's probably one of your best males and your best female that use color turn gem setups. But your color turn gems are the question mark looking thing here. And the way that they work is whenever you throw down a color turn gem, on your next turn, it will randomly turn to a different color. So if I throw these down here real quick, and I get to choose. All right, there we go. 5x7 area. Okay, so these are color turns. I'll break over here. They don't do anything super special for you other than, boom, they just all changed colors. So that's kind of it. I mean, it's really, really, really straightforward on what those ones are. They just change colors. Now, these would be on the absolute lowest end of my power rankings for types of gems, but very recently, like literally last weekend, they came out with this Punk's Gauntlet plate. Whenever you make 6 or more color turn gems, increase all your gem damage by 500%. So very, very much like the Yeet plate, this one is now one that does amazing damage for color turns. But overall, color turns are terrible. The only reason I would use them is in a case like this where you're buffing a ton of damage or adding multiply gems to it and then turning them into a color of your choice. Because when they're just on their own, they're random. Like random. They will turn to anything. They can screw up every plan you have. They are not good for you offensively, and they really don't have a defensive purpose other than they screw with both you and your opponent's plans. But that being said, with the right plates or right setup, they work really, really well. So, for example, on the female side of things here, even not having that plate that I just showed you on her, the best version of Liv in the game, and it's not even close, is Trickster Liv, which I've probably passed by. Yep, I did. Is Trickster Liv right here, and she is a color turn setup. So she will make a 5x5 area into color turn gems, but then she'll increase red gem damage and turn all of the color turn gems red. So it's specifically buffing that color, and it's specifically turning them into a color, so it's controlled. Otherwise, on their own, color turn gems are absolutely a pain in the butt, not worth using, except for in those certain instances. Yeah, all right, so we are getting into now the higher powered ones. Oops, I cannot show you these on him because he actually reverses this gem type. But we're going to go into trap gems now. Trap gems are one of the most fun types. They're mostly on tricksters, and I really like them. The trick with trap gems is they can do anything. Whatever it says in the text that the trap gem does, that's what the trap gem does. But the idea is it has an effect if either you or your opponent break it. So you can kind of see the T that's in like the bear clamp, the leg clamp trap, right? So for example, the most common trap gem user that everybody who played the game during this time frame when he came out has is Ozzy, Prince of Darkness. Deal damage, choose a 5x5 area to make into trap gems. If broken by you, you're going to deal bleed damage to your opponent. So if you break them, that's what happens. If broken by your opponent, it deals bleed damage. So either way, they're going to bleed. And then the Hellraiser, make 24 random gems into trap gems. If broken by your opponent, it deals bleed damage. But if broken by you, it swaps a 1x3 random area into black gems. So for him, he buffs black gems. You make these so that everything bleeds, and then you make it to where you have everything turn into black gems. So for example, the trainer set that I use here on him would look something like this, where you have Mellow or Woods. Basically, you just need to get the black gems up because both of your reds are 1 MP. Tiffy Time for trap gems do 100% more damage. So again, that's whatever gem the trap is sitting on top of, it buffs that gem. So whatever color that is, since we're going to turn them all black, it's going to be 100% black gem damage. King Woods, which is giving you more bleed damage, and then trap gem damage do 100% more again. So we're going to go real quick up against Scott Steiner, and I'll show you kind of how these trap gem work. Pretty neat, pretty basic, but I like them. So first we're going to make a 5x5 area into trap gems. We want this to be somewhere where we can swipe another set of gems. We want to be able to break the other set of trap gems first. So we'll set those. Now this is going to turn the entire board into trap gems, which is why Ozzy's my go-to to show on this. And then we're going to buff our black gem damage by 150%. Boom. Ozzy does also have a reversal. So the reversal, oops, right here, is if you get submitted, you break the submission. So Big Papa Pump's going to try and sub us if we don't win turn 1. Ozzy's just going to break right through that. So we're going to swipe this gem right here, and we're going to watch as it makes the rest of the gems turn into black. And when we break more of the gems that have that effect, it makes black gems. When we break the other gems, it makes it to where he does bleed damage. So we made the board black. Now watch his health. Boom, boom. The trap gems went off each turn and caused it to bleed, and you win. So that's just one example of trap gems. But again, the trap gems are based upon whatever it is that it says the trap gems do. So for example, like if I were to use, let's see here, Here we go. Ricky Dragon, Steamboat, Eternal Dragon. His trap gems, if broken by your opponent, steals health. So the other one with Ozzy was bleed. If broken by you, increase your blue MP by 3. So you can see how that is cyclical there. And then choose 8 gems to make into trap gems. If broken by your opponent, deal damage. If broken by you, make 6 random gems into purple. And then he's also got this one, which is actually the one I should have in here. Corpse Catapult. Whenever you deal damage, make 6 random gems into trap. Broken by your opponent, you decrease all of their gem damage by 15%. And if broken by you, deal bonus damage for every trap gem. So you can see trap gems just require a lot of reading. You've got to figure out what works on each one. Deadly Dragon Dropkick, deal damage, make 14 random gems into trap gems. If broken by your opponent, steal health. If broken by you, deal damage and increase your blue MP by 3. So, again, it's all random stuff. It's all, just depending on what you want to do, depending on what the trap does. But depending on the trap gem and what type it is, the power on those, power on those can be really, really strong. I think this is going to be a pain for us here. All right, no, it's back. Okay, good. All right, so the next one we're going to show off is countdown gems. So we're going to show Asuka here, the new Asuka. She has actually Reinforce, which we already talked about, and countdown gems. But for the countdown gems, think of it just exactly like it sounds. Every time you take a turn, it ticks a dial on a counter that keeps going down. Countdown. I mean, it's so explanatory. So glad I can explain that. Oh my goodness. But the effects of them are kind of like trap gems, where it just depends on what you do. It depends on what it says as to what it does. So for example, in this case, she makes 1 row into 2 turn countdown gems that will make 7 random gems into yellow at the end. And then she does have this, which the finisher effect decreases your countdown timers by 2. In the earliest versions of this game, years and years ago, countdown, like the game was built around multiple turns. Nowadays, it's really it's a lot faster than that. So you will rarely see countdown timers that are 3, 4, 5 turns. Older characters for sure, but most of your new characters, it's 1 turn countdown, or it's something like Asuka's where it immediately triggers the countdown effect, and it kind of goes from there. So just like trap gems, you've got to read what the effect is to kind of figure out what it does. But yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Just whenever it goes off, it will trigger the effect of that gem. All right, I'm going to cover 2 gem types at once here because there's a gem type that is almost absolutely useless except for on this character and I suppose King Booker if you want to do it that way. But we're going to talk about freeze gems. Freeze gems are weird and they were never used a ton. But again, King Booker and Ron Simmons Hall of Fame kind of brought him back. Zombie Sasha Banks used them. Zombie Charlotte. There's just very few characters. But functionally, what a freeze gem does is it puts a gem inside of a block of ice, and it makes it to where your opponent, or if in this case actually you too, because it really their mutually assured destruction makes it to where another gem effect cannot go onto it. So once a gem is frozen, you can't make it change like to a different color. You can't put a power gem or a pyro gem over it. Like once it's frozen, it is done, right? Though, so that one, super rare, very, very unuseful most of the time. But Ron Simmons here finds one way to use them very defensively that's fun. But what I actually wanted to bring him up and talk about is power gems. Power gems, now we're kind of in the home stretch. This is on like the most powerful right? Most damage dealing types of gems for the rest of these. And there's only like 6, so we're in the home stretch. But power gems are in that top echelon, so to speak. So his thrust Spinebuster, deal damage, make the bottom 5 rows into power gems of strength 120k. So what the power gem does is whenever you trigger the board, like you do a gem swipe, it will trigger every one of the power gems. So the power gems, again, are the type where it's like the Leech. You've got your gem, and you've got the power gem sitting on top of it. This isn't being modified. It's purely the power gem itself. And so it's doing 120k bonus damage for every power gem you have on the board. There's a lot of power gem users. My favorite's probably Hall of Fame DDP. This guy, there's a few. OTC Roman can use them, etc., etc. But when they're done right, power gems can be very, very strong. Pardon me. He actually has a third type of gem, which I was going to save for last, but since Ron does all of these at once, let's just go ahead and talk about them, and that's multiply gems. So he makes multiply gems into strength 20. So what that is a multiply gem functionally creates duplicates of that gem. So in this case, he's going to make these multiply gems black, and they're going to be times 20. So picture it as if instead of 1 black gem were sitting there, now 20 black gems are in that same spot. And so like I showed you before, if you go to the level up screen, Ron is doing 74,000, let's just say 75,000 to make it easy, 75,000 damage per black gem. So when it's multiplied by 20, 10 times would be, 750, 20 times should be about 1.5 million for every single one of those gems that breaks. So let me show you Ron real quick, and all 3 types of gems in one shot: power, multi, and freeze. Although I do want to show you a little bit more with multi-gems in a minute at the end here. I didn't put his trainers on. Bully on me. But we will get to show this ability now. So there's your pyro gems, and now they freeze. So Sammy cannot change those power gems. They are locked in that place now, the way we have this set up. And you can see, boom, that just triggered the power gems. We did 20 million damage, and then we can go back and put these back again. And I really should have done his. I thought I'd get a black match, and I will not. But you can see, look at that, we've destroyed him multiple times. Now he's going to try and explode. Watch, he can't break those bottom ones because they're frozen. So that actually screwed him up pretty good. And then also with the sub, he can't throw the sub on those bottom gems. So yeah, not exactly what I wanted to do with this. I really thought I would. You know what? Let's just quit out of here. This is impacting my stats. No! But I forgot to set trainers, so that's on me. My daughter's getting her hair done, and she's freaking out. I don't know if you can hear her upstairs. I hope not. Alright, so let me go in here and set, so we can see all 3 gem types. But let me set his loadout so that way I've got it here. Okay, alright, so now I should be able to do this a lot better, and you'll be able to see the multiply gems as well. So this is 3 different gem types all in one shot. So we're going to lay down the power gems that then also become freeze gems. Then we're going to increase our black gem damage, and then we're going to lay down these multiply gems. They're immediately going to turn to black, so you'll have to watch it quick, but they're going to go to times 23, and then they're going to turn black, and watch his health just melt. So that's 3 different gem types all in one shot. All right, 4 more gem types to go. We'll get this video done in under, barely an hour. My goodness, under an hour. All right. So the remaining are going to be Snowfall and Pyro. And actually, no. Yeah, I'm going to show Kyrie for this because I can knock out 2 of them in one shot with Kyrie. All right. So Kyrie has a really interesting move set here. She's got where she does the middle row into Snowfall, and then they turn into Pyro. So hers are kind of interesting setup in that you get to see both gem types all at once, which is pretty cool. I don't know if I need any of those, but so basically Pyro and Snowfall are the same thing, just opposite effect. A Pyro gem, when you break it, it makes the effect go up. A Snowfall gem, when you break it, makes the effect go down. So usually when you're making these, you want to put your Snowfalls on the top row as much as possible and your Pyro gems on the bottom row as much as possible. You're going to see she has both. So these ones are going to go up. These ones are going to go down. And just to make sure we get some damage out of this, we'll put that right there. So watch, you'll see both effects trigger at the same time. You'll see the middle row turn some up, some down. Boom. There you go. Now, I don't have my Kyrie leveled, so well, I obviously didn't do that much damage, but she can. She can do a lot of stinking damage. Where these are good, your Pyro gems especially are super, super useful because, in no uncertain terms, of one plate. One plate in particular, which is the Pyro plate, the Piper's Power. So let me find my William Regal here. I must have passed him. There he is. So, for example, somebody like William Regal, or there's really a lot of people that use Pyro gems now, will create an entire row of Pyro gems that does multi-gems for everything that goes above it, and then an entire row that makes everything yellow. And he's got this plate right here. This is your Pyro plate. Whenever you make 4 or more Pyro gems, increase all your gem damage by 100% and your yellow gem damage by 500%. Wow. So, yeah, anytime you use anybody that does Pyro gems, and there are several people on the top end of this game. In fact, for a while there, almost all of your best characters were doing Pyro gems. So you've got Howdy that does Pyro gems right there. There's a version with Roman that you can do them. Certainly Ilya is one of your best for that. Julius, William Regal, etc. The Miz actually does Snowfall gems. If you got him for free, he is one of the best Snowfall gem users that's in the game, and you kind of go from there. All right, so 2 more gem types left, Blast and Juggernaut. Juggernaut gems are functionally like trap gems mixed with countdown gems mixed with reinforced gems. They're really super cool. I love them. I absolutely love them. And depending on what you have on the text of these, depends on what they do. So, for example, Sammy here deals damage and makes 6 random gems into 2-turn Juggernaut gems. So think countdown, 2 turns. That will increase your blue gem damage by 100% for 1 turn on every countdown. And then at the end of them, we'll make 10 random gems blue. So the Juggernaut looks like this little swirly guy right here, and it brings 3 things together. Reinforce, so if your opponent breaks a Juggernaut gem, unless it matches twice in a row, it stays there and it still keeps doing its effect. Countdown, so every time it goes for a turn, it does a certain effect from that. And they're kind of also certain effects of them that are like trap gems in effect, where you can mess up your opponent with these type of gems. And there are certain plates that go with the Juggernaut if you've got them, where it can even like decrease their MP every time you use a Juggernaut gem. So, for example, with Sammy 90s era guy here, whenever you break or whenever you make these gems, so I'm going to throw out these. There's 6 of them. So it says every time they click, they're going to increase my blue gem damage by 100%, right? So that's 600% right there. And now I get to throw them down a second time. So that's 1200% boost to my blue gems. And of course, just like the countdown gems, you've got certain characters with moves that immediately trigger them instead of you having to swipe each turn to trigger them. And boom, boom, there they go. All of the damage happens. That was 220 million reduced to 200 million. So Juggernaut gems are awesome. Very specifically, there's one trainer, one coach that impact these. Both are rare, although Goldberg is much less rare now. But the trainer, and I don't even think I've got him equipped. Yeah, I don't have either of them actually equipped right now because of the feud. So yeah, right here, if I would do it this way, then I would actually get 7 random gems with it. So there's Goldberg. Moves that generate Juggernaut gems will create 1 more Juggernaut gem. And then Seth freaking Rollins, if I were to put him here, that would do the same effect, but on the trainer side. So that's Juggernaut gems. All right, the last one before I give a re-shout out to multiply gems. The last one is power gems. So let's just go ahead and show off Bionic Redneck here. Where's Bionic Redneck at? There he goes. All right, so power gems are kind of like, did you ever play Minesweeper back on the old Microsoft systems, like back in the day, or maybe even they even still have it? Minesweeper would be where you try to break a gem or a little spot, and it breaks everything around it. That's what the blast gems functionally do. So a blast gem, wherever you put it, it's going to explode from that center, and all of the gems that are around it are going to explode as well. So very good gems to use, very powerful across the board, and very specifically, one of what has become a more common plate, the Heroic Titan's Crest. Whenever you make 8 or more blast gems, increase the damage of all your gems by 200% for 2 turns. Yeah, because you can blow up a lot of gems with that specific type, and it does a lot of damage. Let me do an up red because I don't think Austin's going to load turn 1, and we'll just show you what this last gem type is. Then we'll cut right at almost an hour. Holy cow! There's a reason why no other CC has made this video yet. So your blast gem, like if I break this red one right here, it's going to break that one, 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 that one. And then every other blast gem that gets triggered is also going to explode. So functionally, it's just going to blow up the entire board. But theoretically, if you only had like this row here, you can see me playing with the gems. See, click, 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 click. So if it were just like this whole row, then actually only the one next to it would blow up, this guy right here. But because we have all of them, they're all going to blow up. We're going to buff our red gem damage by 140%, and then we're going to make 38 blast gems red. So just like the other, the red gem is here, the blast gem that sits on top of it. When we buff that 140%, it's buffing the gem it sits on. So when we make all of them red, functionally we just buffed his primary color by 140%. So that's good. That's very, very, very good. All right, so let's talk about the last little bit with these powers. So we've kind of tried to go from weakest to strongest, but I threw multiply in the mix just because of the fact that Ron Simmons does multi-gems, and it made it super, super nice. But the strongest gem type, bar none, in the game is multiply gems. That's why the trainers for them are so rare and so expensive. Let's just call it like it is, right? So whenever you have somebody that can increase a multiply gem, I've already said it, but picture, the gem, he's going to turn these into purple. So for every one gem that's sitting there that's purple, you actually have 19 gems in that one spot. So you're creating 19 times whatever that is with them. So the higher the multiply gem strength, which he's got moves, moments, and other things that are going to buff these up way higher than 19, but it's going to make it to where it just automatically adds each of those together. So right now, this purple gem right here is doing 176,000 by itself. But if I make it into a multiply gem, which is going to be strength 23, by the way, once it's all said and done. So now there's 23 purple gems sitting right here. So those 23 gems added up make a damage of 4.62 million. And then we're going to turn all of them purple, which means you're just blowing up purple everywhere. So functionally, that's 23, 23, 23, 23, 23. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of gems. And that was 186 million damage. So multiply gems are by far the strongest gem type in the game, depending on how strong they are. Like a ×2 multi is functionally the same as a reinforced gem. It just breaks twice, right? But in the current meta, you have characters like Roman here who can do really, really high numbers. I mean, he starts his base as 12 multi. You have Sherry, who increases the multiply number by 4. Seth Leonardo increases them by 3. You've got this guy who's giving you multiply gems 60% more damage. You've got characters across the board now that are pretty accessible that do multiply gems increase their strength by 2. So all the way around, they are just the most powerful gem. And that's why there's almost a gold rush on multiply gem guys. To be quite honest, because those trainers are so high in demand, I really appreciate when characters use something else. So like, for example, Zombie CM Punk here is doing X-Break gems. I didn't show him off, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Rey Mysterio here is doing Cross-Break gems, right? So there he creates the entire board, almost, 40 of them, into Cross-Break gems, and then he does bonus damage for each gem. So when you have characters that don't do the multiply as their main thing, it's actually really super helpful, because like, I mean, just on this top row or top section alone right here, Roman would need the multiply gem trainers. Werewolf Ozzy would need multiply gem trainers. Jacob Fatu needs multiply gem trainers. Ilya needs multiply gem trainers. Vader needs multiply. Julius needs them. Hogan needs them. Regal needs them. Miz needs them. Zombie Sammy needs them. So Ron Simmons needs them. So Devon needs them. So I barely have to go anywhere without almost all the characters I'm looking at needing multiply gem coaches. So having those Cross-Break, X-Break, Juggernaut, Trap Gem specialists really just makes it to where your feud lineup is even better. It's more versatile. You don't have to worry about the coaches and trainers overlapping constantly or swapping them out mid-feud, mid-fight. So that's why I love how they've been focusing lately on, like, for example, they did an entire month based on column break gems. And now all of a sudden, even characters like X-Pac from the original version of the game 7 years ago, are back. They're usable again because of plates like the Yeet plate. The Color Turn Gem plate just made a bunch of people usable again. And I love those because you don't then have to continually lean into your multiply gem guys, because they are the strongest bar none, but you're limited on your coaches. Like if you have an affiliation strap, meaning that you can then use that coaching ability or trainer ability on 2, in rare cases 4 if you have a really good affiliation strap characters, that still means you like can only pick 2 multi-gem people to run at their max power when you're trying to build a feud lineup. So the more you can diversify and use those other gem types, the better. Well, that was much longer than I thought it would take, but that covered every single gem type. Let me know what you think. Send this to your friend or faction mate. We are being told there's a lot of new players coming into the game, and a lot more of them are sticking around than there was years ago. And so this is for that new player, or even, like I say, there's certain things I said in here that it took me 5 years to actually realize how some of these gems work, like especially like the gems sitting on top of, like the Leech. You know, how the Leech effect is separate from the gem sitting on top of it, but most of the others, you know, it's, you buff a silence gem, it's the color gem that's underneath it that gets buffed by that damage. You know, it's things like that I didn't realize for years. So that's it for this one. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like this video, subscribe to Champions Chat, and please, please, please send this to your friend and faction mates, because we are being told by the community that they want more content that is just the basic stuff to help people out. But we got to see the views on it for that to actually make sense, right? So back to basics. There's every special gem type in the game. I'm going to go take a nap. I'll see you guys later. Bye.